what advice would you have for an up and comer, perhaps somebody that works for you or somebody that might be listening about leadership?
Yeah, I think the key thing, I would tell them is, just kind of looking at my career, I really, really kind of prize the experiences that I have had, but I would do them probably in a different sequence. So I, you know, did a lot of work on, kind of, after my undergraduate and consulting, and then I went to business school. I did some more consulting at McKinsey, and that was a great finishing school where I learned kind of problem solving. Then I started my first business with my co-founder in banking and financial services software, and then I started a second one. Then I went to Amazon, and I got to see what technology at scale really looked like. What I would, what I would do is probably reverse some of that order if I had it to kind of do over again, which is, if your ultimate ambition is to start your own company, kind of do it in the sequence of, learn, problem solve, see scale, then start a business, and so like I would, what I always kind of tell folks is if they're kind of on the path of like they want to be a CEO of their own company or found their own company, um, get some formal training in the basics. One way of doing it is an MBA. It's not the only way you could do it, but like what I learned at Wharton was, the reason why I picked that business school was they're going to teach me a set of very, 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 very specific learnable skills that are kind of classroom based, so like finance and accounting and those types of things. So the business acumen, so, check that off. And then what McKinsey taught me was problem solving, so structured problem solving, right? And then what I wish I had done next was go to Amazon to where I could learn the leadership principles and the scaling and seeing like what works and what doesn't with consumers. Because the great thing about working at Amazon was, and the same thing as Google, same thing with Apple, any of these big scale, Microsoft, et cetera, is Amazon has 300 million customers going through its platform, and you can kind of accelerate the rate of how fast a startup grows. And you can kind of see what works and what doesn't in kind of, accelerated time, right? So it's like listening to a podcast on like, 2x, right? You can get through it faster and you get to the end faster and you can still kind of consume the information. Whereas when you're kind of starting a business, um, a lot of the work is just the basic block and tackling of putting the infrastructure in place, trying to generate demand, getting customers to use the platform. So there's a lot of signal to noise issues. And so I think knowing a lot of that up front matters. And then also, go to a place like, like an Amazon or, a big organization like Providence, which is great around teaching the servant leadership, ideas. Go somewhere where you can really learn leadership. Work for a great startup leader, but I think the leadership piece is and the management piece is really helpful before you go and raise money and before you go start a business. I'm all about kind of preparation and and getting ready for that because I cringe all the time about like some of the decisions I made in my first startup. That I had I done it in a different sequence, I would have been like, oh, that's like a no brainer. Don't do that, right? The other thing too is read, read, read. Like the answers are out there, so like like cheat, like go copy off of somebody else's test, like so like a great book is The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. Like he tells you everything that you're going to go screw up, even if you know about it ahead of time. But at least he's giving you the warning, like here are the leadership kind of missteps you're going to make as a startup CEO. That's all about kind of becoming a, kind of a founder CEO. I think, there's probably other kind of lessons if you want kind of different, career paths, down the road. So like for venture, et cetera. But that, if you're looking to found your own business, that would be my advice.